Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking about a road trip to the Mighty 5 National Parks in Utah. The Mighty 5 National Parks in Utah are some of the best parks in the country, and they're generally grouped together because you can get to all of them in as little as a week. You could spend up to 2 weeks doing this, which is what we did. And we're also going to throw in a bonus extra place you should go on top of those Mighty 5 in this video. So we're going to start out in the Canyonlands area of Utah, and that's the first national park that we hit to, which is near the city of Moab. That's a good place to base out of because Canyonlands is right there, Arches is right there, and Dead Horse Point is right there.
Exactly, which is actually where we stayed. We spent the night. The first couple of nights we spent there when we went to visit Canyonlands, and Canyonlands was actually very surprising as a park. We just weren't really sure what to expect. It's not one that's at the top of the list when people are referring to the Mighty 5, so we weren't really sure how much there would be to do. It's split up into a couple of districts, but the main place where most people go is the Island in the Sky district, and within it there's kind of two different areas: the area above the mesa and the area below the mesa, which you're going to access through the White Rim Road. So most people actually, and we did, spend most of our time or all of our time in the upper mesa area, and it's actually it's really quite easy the way they have it set up. The scenic drive basically takes you to all of the overlooks and the short hikes, and that's also where you're going to see the beautiful Mesa Arch as well. That is also a short hike from the parking lot. Now, we will tell you though, that parking lot does fill up pretty fast, doesn't it?
Very fast, yeah.
We were in a camper van and we had to circle that parking lot numerous times until we were able to get a parking spot that was both safe and legal.
Yeah, we did a video recently on the best crowd-free national parks. These are not those parks. So to avoid that though, you probably should go in the spring or September, October, which is when we went in October, which should have been not that busy, and it was still really quite busy. So in the summer, it's just a ton of people there, and it's very, 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 very hot. So if you're planning this out, plan for the spring or the fall, right? And it still might be busy, but definitely worth going. So interestingly enough, in the Canyonlands area, you're going to drive down a long road to get there, and there's going to be a road that goes to the left about halfway, and that's the road to Dead Horse Point State Park, which is the one place that everybody overlooks. And Dead Horse Point State Park basically shares the canyon with Canyonlands. Exactly. And most people think that the views are better from Dead Horse than from Canyonlands. So if you're going there, you're already most of the way already. You might as well go hop in and see Dead Horse. The other great thing about Dead Horse is it has probably the best state park campground in the country. It's one of the top 5, if nothing else. It's pretty amazing. They've got electrical hookups. All the sites are paved. They've got shelters for each campsite. And
you can hike also starting from the campsite itself. There's like 3-ish or so different hikes you can do right from the campground. So just meets up with the main hiking route, but they've set it up so you can leave right from the campground without having to drive to one of the parking lots.
Logistically, the first decision you'll have to make for this road trip is in the Moab area, is Canyonlands, Dead Horse Point, and Arches. So how are you going to stay in Moab? And if you're in a hotel, you just want to probably stay as close to Arches as you can, because the traffic through Moab is pretty bad. And they're doing construction, and it can take you an hour to get through Moab. So you want to stay as close as you can. If you are camping, you want to spend your time a few nights at Dead Horse and a few nights in Arches. And those are the best 2 campgrounds, and that'll give you the best experience. So if you're doing a 2-week trip like we did, I would say a lot 4 to 5 nights, maybe even 6 nights in Moab. to see the best of this. If you're doing this in a
Yes.
week, you'll definitely want to allot probably 2 to at the most 3, but probably 2 nights to this area.
Yeah, definitely. So Canyonlands was definitely a big surprise, but what was not a surprise was the beauty of Arches.
Oh yeah, Arches. Arches is the big one of the Mighty Five. So
Yes, it's kind of like the queen bee of the Mighty Five. It's the one that has the iconic delicate arch, which you actually see on the Utah state license plate. So even if you've never been there, you've seen it. If you've seen the Utah state license plate, the delicate arch is pictured on there. That's how iconic it is. And the hike up there is absolutely incredible. Quite challenging.
Yeah.
And it was really warm the day that we were hiking. Even though we were there in October, it was quite toasty. And you're really going up this, kind of rock face that doesn't really have any, it just like the elevation just continues to go up and there's not really anywhere to rest or get shade or anything like that as you're going up. So it's a challenging hike, but it's absolutely worth the effort to go up there, right?
Yeah, you can make it up. We did it. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't. It was harder than we thought it was going to be,
right?
Because we didn't have any idea going in that this was a difficult hike.
Yes.
And then you get there and you see the sign that says, "This is a challenging hike," and you're like, "Okay, well, this could be more challenging than we thought," and it was.
Yes.
And it takes longer. You might read it's a certain distance. It's going to take you twice as long as you think because it's uphill the whole way.
Correct. So you'll be stopping to get some water. Thankfully, we brought water with us and we were able to take some breaks on our way up. But if you cannot make it up there, you have mobility issues, anything like that, there is a viewpoint down below. So you can still get a peek at it from the viewpoint down below. It's literally just a few yards from the parking lot, all on paved flat ground. So very simple. If you want to go see it, you're obviously going to be considerable distance away from it, but you're going to very easily be able to see it from the viewpoint down below. But aside from Delicate Arch, Devil's Campground, we did spend a couple of nights there as well. Again, at the top of our list for campgrounds that we absolutely loved. We were able to see the Milky Way there at night because it's a nice dark sky, and the Milky Way was facing away from Moab, so we didn't have any light pollution that way. It was absolutely gorgeous, and just the access to the park, because that was really a perk that we didn't even know about when we got there and got to experience. Right?
Yeah, it is an amazing campground. And one thing I'll throw in about the campgrounds there they do sell firewood at Arches and at Dead Horse, but it can be hard to get. Like there has to be an attendant on duty, and at Dead Horse you got to get it from the gift store. So if that's closed, you can't get it, and if the attendant's not there at Arches, you can't get it. So they do also have a firewood law in effect that you can't bring firewood in from out of town because they don't want you transporting things that might be in the woods. So you can get firewood in Moab, and they will give you a ticket that says that you bought it in Moab, and then they say that's okay to use.
Yeah, we didn't have any issue doing that. We bought it at the local grocery store right there in Moab, which is in Utah, and it was not an issue at all. He did say, make sure you keep this receipt with you to show as proof. We weren't ever asked about it, but there are signs everywhere reminding you not to do that because, again, you can bring in things from other places that are going to be a real problem for the environment there.
The other thing that's an issue in Moab is water, and you cannot get water at campgrounds, so you'll need to bring your water in from Moab. And there are several stores that you can get water at there, where they let you fill up your van or your RV even. So
and you can buy a lot of water jugs. They had plenty of those too. So
that's a great place to go. Arches is extremely crowded during the day and during the summer, but logistically, if you can camp there, we really recommend it because you wake up inside the park and you wake up already way at the back of the park. It's 20 some miles to the back of the park, and everyone kind of heads back there right when they get into the park. But if you are camping in the park, you're already there. So you have the whole park to yourself when you wake up, other than the other people in the campground. And it's not a big campground, so there's going to be very few people in the park right when you wake up.
Exactly. Yes. And about how long would you say for Arches to stay there, or to dedicate? How much time?
If you're a big hiker, you're gonna need 2 to 3 days. If you are only gonna do the Delicate Arch hike and then a couple other little hikes and just drive around, you can definitely do that in 2 days. If you're not gonna hike Delicate Arch and you're just gonna go to most of the overlooks, then you could do the park in a day.
Yeah. All right, great. So that took care of Canyonlands and Arches. So third on the list, and this one is the one that most people completely forget that it exists, because it sits between two fairly popular ones. So the next park is Capitol Reef.
Yeah,
Capitol Reef was a lot of fun. Again, we camped out there, and the Fruita campground is really like no other national park campground. Am I right?
You are, yeah. It's set amidst orchards that were planted long ago, and they're still maintained to this day. If the fruit is in season, you can walk out there and pick fruit from the orchard and eat it. And you'll also have some visitors likely that are doing the same thing, which is the deer and the animals, the wildlife that are out there with you. And that is just quite an experience to see.
Yeah, it was really quite interesting to see how the campers and the animals just coexisted in the space. The animals didn't bother the people didn't bother the animals. We just kind of all carried about our business. We'd be doing we were grilling in our cowboy grill there at our campsite, and deer would just walk by, take a glance at what we were having for dinner, and just keep on walking. So that was a really neat experience. And again, great opportunity for the night sky at Capitol Reef. Absolutely no light pollution at this park, and there is a ton to see. We loved like from the schoolhouse. There's petroglyphs. Great hikes here as well, and we also got to see the Gifford House. You can get yourself a pie there. Unfortunately, by the time we got to the Gifford House, they were out of pie, but we did have some ice cream, which was really good. Yeah. So if you need a backup dessert, you could do that. And then they also do serve sandwiches and some lunch items there too.
So if you're on a 2-week road trip, I would recommend 2 to 3 nights at Capitol Reef. If you're on a 1-week road trip, 1 to 2 nights. Probably one night would be fine at Capitol Reef. It's not that big, and most of the park is drivable, and the hikes you're going to do aren't that long. So you could get away with 1 night, because you're going to want to save some of that time for the next 2. And the next one is Bryce Canyon.
That's right. And from Capitol Reef to Bryce Canyon, in between, you're actually going to start having a good time before you even get to Bryce Canyon, because you're likely, or at least you should, we highly recommend this, you're going to take State Route 12, which is an all-American highway, and they don't just give this designation out to just any road. Am I right?
Yeah, no, it's beautiful.
It's amazing. Also note that there are going to be extreme elevation changes. Yeah. Right? On this road, you're going to, work your way up to nearly 10,000 feet before heading down to the valley. You'll pass by the entrance to Grand Staircase Escalante and arrive at Bryce Canyon. Bryce Canyon is an amazing park. What I think is great about this park is that, first of all, you can't see it from the car. You're basically just driving through the woods. When you're in the car driving through the park, you have to actually go to the actual viewpoints and park and get out and walk to them. Most of them are a very short hike, and then they also have a more extensive hike. If you wanted to do something and go down into the canyons, you can do that with more extensive hikes. But the other beautiful thing is you don't even have to drive in Bryce Canyon, because they have all these shuttle buses that you can take, right? And the shuttle buses leave not just from the visitor center, they start outside near the campgrounds as well. So you can hop on at the campgrounds, don't even have to move your, RV camper, tent, whatever. or even your car, if you're staying at one of the local hotels, there's likely going to be a pickup station for the shuttle bus right there, and they take you to every viewpoint, to almost all of the viewpoints, the major ones, so you don't even have to drive.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
And I think you don't want to drive there.
You don't.
Because it's pretty crowded. And we were there in October, in the middle of October, which should have been pretty empty, and it was really hard to find parking at every single stop.
It was.
So if you can get away without driving, just take the shuttle bus, I would say.
Absolutely.
So for Bryce, you want to spend, I think you can do Bryce pretty easily in a day, unless you're a major hiker. Even if you're on a 2-week trip, you spend one night in the area, the next day you spend the whole day at Bryce. You can finish that in a day, and then it's just a short drive to the next one, which is Zion.
Right. That's right. Yes. Now Zion is the most popular of the Mighty Five. We usually go to the Springdale entrance, but you can also go to Moab Canyons as well, which is where we tried it out for the first time.
Yeah,
on our last trip to Zion. Went to Moab Canyon, and it was absolutely amazing. It's kind of a hidden gem in Zion because you cannot access it right from Springdale. It's actually about a 40-minute drive away, so you have to actually make the effort to go there. So check that out. We do have videos here on the channel from our trips to all of these individual parks as well if you want a concentration, or you can head right to the blog, and on the blog we've got all the details for all of our trips to these different parks as well, where you're going to find those. But Zion is definitely the hot ticket, the place to go. And what they do is you get into Zion and you hop on the shuttle bus there, and they take you down to the different stops, and at the different stops there's different hikes as well, and different things that you can do. The most popular thing though to do is to hike the Narrows. Yes. But you can't just do that whenever. So make sure, and you can't just walk out there just the way that you show up. You have to have equipment with you. And you do have to pay attention to, it is prone to flooding. Yeah. And it is important to know all of that information of, what is the possibility of flooding, which they will tell you out at the gate before you even go in at the outfitter's shop, and you can rent equipment at the outfitter's shop. You should be renting it or reserving it beforehand, because a lot of times they do sell out, because as we mentioned, hiking the Narrows is the most popular thing to do there. Yeah, and they do have some problems recently with some different bacteria in the water, so you need to check and see if that's been cleared up. It kind of could come and go, but I've hiked the Narrows, and if you get a chance to do it, you really want to do it. It's just one of the most spectacular days you'll have. If it's the summer, you could do it without equipment, but I wouldn't because of that bacteria problem. So just if you go to one of the outfitters, they'll rent you rubber pants that'll come up to your waist, and then a stick to walk with, and then you'd be a lot safer that way. And you can go as little or as far as you want before you turn around and come back, and you spend an hour, you spend a couple hours, you can spend most of your day hiking there. Around every turn there's something even more beautiful than the next. So definitely that's the top recommended hike in Zion. There's a lot of other great hikes. There's a lot of crazy hikes. Like Angel's Landing.
Angel's Landing is not for the faint of heart.
No, it's quite popular. A lot of people will only hike up to the chains and then turn around and come back. But once you get to the chains, we're talking about an extremely narrow, place, and with a huge kind of drop off on both sides of that hike. So just know that if you're scared of heights like me, you don't even want to think about it. I mean, you can see the people. They look like teeny tiny little ants when you're on the shuttle bus. The drivers usually point that out, and you look out and you see them up there, and you're just like, yeah, there's absolutely no way. If you're scared of heights. Obviously, if you're not, then and you feel safe to do something like that, that is a very popular one. Now, one that has been opened up recently also is the Emerald Pools hike as well. And that one, we did that one this last time that we went for the first time, and that was a great hike, and that was really it was really nice. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a pretty flat hike, pretty easy, and it's pretty much paved. So, it's
really hard packed
it's
dirt.
recently done. So, yeah, you'd have no trouble walking that one. Another one that you could try is Observation Point.
Yes.
And that is a much harder hike. It's going to be a challenge. But there is a trick that you can get up there, which we did once. Was I wanted to be up there for sunrise, and there are outfitters in Springdale that will take you up early in the morning to the top of the rim, and then you only have to hike across essentially a field. And so we wanted to do that because it takes a long time to hike up there. This way, it was only like it was not that far of a hike, and it was all flat. And then after that, we just walked down. So that's a way kind of to cheat and get up there. If you really want to see it, and maybe you don't feel like you're the greatest hiker in the world, you could definitely do that, because it's a tough one to get up.
Yeah.
So for Zion, I would say if you're on a 2-week trip, spend 3 to 4 days on that, and maybe you can hit Moab Canyon as well. If you're on a 1-week trip, if you can squeeze in 2 nights there, it'd be great, because you really should have 1 full day where you're waking up early and getting into the Narrows early before it gets late, or getting up to Observation Point early. So 2 nights in Springdale is probably the minimum I would do on a week.
Right.
Definitely plan to have that time there.
Definitely. Yeah. So, I mean, we had a great time on our road trip to the Mighty Five. Absolutely loved them. Each one has their own special thing for you, and they all have great things to offer for everybody, from those who love to hike, or if you just want, a quick photo opportunity from the parking lot, or if you just wanted to drive and do scenic routes. You can find all of those options at all 5 of these parks. This is definitely a great option for you for a spring break trip, a summer trip, or a trip in the fall for a fall break or something like that. Gives you lots of different options. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, found it helpful. Don't forget to give us a like, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to visit the website www.groundedlifetravel.com. On the blog, we've got all types of information, as I mentioned earlier, and we'll link up down below as well. We'll see you guys on the next trip.